You know, ignorance is bliss, and they say love is blind. And for you, I was all in. I gave 110%. Because you can't judge a book by its cover, and actions speak louder than words. And then they say you can't please everyone, though what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. So I had to think outside the box when all is fair in love and war. Because everything happens for a reason, and as I say, where there's a will, there's a way. For if misery loves company, let me at least be lucky in love. If I'm going back to square one, I'll go back to the drawing board. I won't beat around the bush when you're my better half. I'll burn the candle at both ends. I'll burn the midnight oil. Because come hell or high water, I'll go against the grain. I'll go for broke. Because for all intents and purposes, we're two peas in a pod. I have such high hopes when you make me happy as a clam. In other words, you make the sun rise. You're the bee's knees. You're the icing on the cake. So I'll keep my chin up. I'll keep my fingers crossed in this labor of love. I'll let my hair down. So, needless to say, if our moment in the sun will be our moment of glory, mark my words, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You're one in a million. You're the apple of my eye. You're pure as the driven snow. Not fresh fallen, but driven. And this is why it's right as rain. And my only choice is to seize the day. It takes two to tango, and I'm the real deal. You're too good to be true, so I'll take my chances. You only live once, so let's take the plunge. One poem for you in honor of um, First Wednesdays from 1 to 3. Alana's playing tomorrow, so I have the jersey on. But this one poem is called Keep Your Chin Up, of course. And it was written on the 3rd of November for a cliche day. I know that probably drove you nuts, but this is from the cc&d September to December 2021 issue collection book, The World Outside. I hope you enjoy these poetry readings. I'm going to do a couple more for you throughout this time. Born in Warsaw, the youngest of 5, she did well in school, but it didn't matter when women were not allowed higher education. Undeterred, she even made deals with professors to work there for free so she could also illegally go to school before schooling in Paris. While there, she found her love in Pierre. They married, gave each other bicycles as wedding presents. Well, she wore a black dress to her wedding, so dirt wouldn't show when she went back to work. And work she did, separately from Pierre, until she discovered radioactivity, and Pierre put his pride aside and worked to help his wife. After his accidental death, it was heartbreaking loss to her, but she took over his teaching post, making her Sorbonne's first female professor. She discovered radioactivity, but also a new element named for her home country. And in World War I, she developed portable X-ray devices that they nicknamed Little Curies. The Great War didn't get her, but her love of studies did, as working with the radiation so long and keeping vials of radium in her lab pockets daily would be too much, even for her genius. People truly admire Albert Einstein, whom she worked with, but for women and for all of humankind. This woman faced more obstacles than most and opened the door for all. That was one poem reading for you guys. That poem was titled Open the Door for All because it's the ending of the poem, and it was written on the 7th of November, which is the November 7th, 1867 birthday of Marie Curie. That was the thing about Marie Curie. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was from the cc&d September to December 2021 issue collection book called The World Outside. The World Outside, because it's suddenly not seeming so much like winter anymore, because this reading was for the first Wednesday of the month in honor of the Tom Woodruff Poetry Open Mic Reading Space, where you had 10-minute reading spaces for, and I would always come and read from new books, which is what I'm sharing with you now in honor of that. Thank you, Tom. I wish we can get together. I love how COVID has kept us all apart. I hope everyone is remaining safe. I'm going to probably read a couple more poems from this book for you guys in this 1 to 3 hour, 3 p.m. timeline on the first Wednesday of the month. Everyone has a story inside of them. Sometimes you look over your life and wonder if your life is a soap opera. After you've witnessed atrocities, after you've felt indescribable joys, you've wondered, maybe you can. Maybe you can describe that joy, just so others can feel what you felt. Isn't that what novel writing's all about? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was a really short poem called Just So Others Can Feel, and it was written on November, which was during National Novel Writing Month. So I thought I'd share that little one with you from this cc&d magazine issue collection book from September to December 2021 called The World Outside. If you want to know about it, you can go to Amazon or go to Scars.tv or Scars.tv/ccd, and you can learn about this and other issue collection books from the what seems like book publishing powerhouse, Scars Publications. And if you would like to submit anything to those magazines, you always can. There are links for submitting ratings and artwork. And I hope everyone is remaining safe. I hope everyone is remaining creatively inclined. This was for the first Wednesday of the month, book readings in honor of the Tom Woodruff open mic that would normally happen at Half Price Books on North Lamar in Austin, Texas. Because that's not going on, thanks to COVID and the lovely pandemic, everything was separated off from each other. But that's why I'm doing these things at these times to share it with you guys. When I was stranded on a mountainside behind enemy lines, the tallest Marine I knew helped me retreat, changed my dressing, and when bombs took out our route to base, he even carried me over hazardous lands so we could both make it. I could go on about how I chose to marry a Marine, but maybe his everyday actions reflect the character that makes a Marine. Their slogan line starts by saying, "The few." And I'm glad I found one of the few who make a difference in every aspect of their lives. They step ahead and they make those in need, they help those in need, and they make a real difference. One single poem for you titled Over Hazardous Lands. That was written, of course, on the 10th of November because that is the Marine Corps birthday. You thought it was a thing about Veterans Day on the 11th, but the day before is actually when the Marine Corps started. So the Marine Corps' birthday is on the 10th of November, and that was in honor of that. Was one short poem that I thought I'd share with you from the cc&d issue collection book, the last one from 2021. That is December to December 2021 issue anthology that is titled The World Outside. I really like the snow because it's finally getting warmer here and I can be dressed up in, you know, March Madness clothes. Here in honor of the first Wednesday of every month reading that normally would go on at Half Price Books on North Lamar in Austin. That was hosted by Tom Woodruff, the Australian who lives in Austin, Texas. And I would come and do 10-minute mini feature readings, and I would always use very recent Scarce Publications books like this. So in honor of that, and in honor of Tom Woodruff's open mic, I am reading a couple poems for you from new issue collection books from Scarce Publications. Today I was asked if I knew the date when ethics courses became mandatory for a business college degree. I had no idea. Then I said it had to be recently. They nodded in agreement. And then I thought it probably coincided with the civil rights movement. So I guess the 50s or 60s. They answered, wrong millennium, which confused me greatly because the Enron scandal of a business knowingly lying to their investors to give their company an inflated worth, that was why it was only 2004 where Susan Phillips led task forces to push schools to increase education of ethics into their business. People losing money. That's what caused their push, not say racial or gender reasons, ethically. I then thought of the day when the crew of the British slave ship Zong murdered 133 Africans by dumping them into the sea to claim insurance. It sounds horrific, I know. But know that back then, people would fill their ships with more slaves than their boat could handle to increase profits with every trip across the ocean. But by the 29th of November in 1781, some slaves were already sick and dying when the Zong was caught in, get this, the doldrums. Now, seriously, this area in the ocean is known to have no wind at all. So often a ship got stuck in the doldrums and they would be stuck and they'd run out of food or water and die. Well, the Zong was caught there, and with dying slaves and having to keep enough water for the rest of the crew, they thought that made sense if they, quote-unquote, unloaded their excess, quote-unquote, cargo so their crewmates would live. Besides, large ships like that paid insurance on their cargo, like slaves, so they could get their money for their losses. After the Zong arrived in Jamaica, they filed their claim for their loss, for they did not have enough water to save all. The insurance underwriter protested, citing that the ship still had 420 gallons aboard upon arrival. Abolitionists claimed that this was the first time the use of the word massacre. But the British Solicitor General said that slaves are goods and property, and that it was madness to excuse these honorable men of murder because throwing property overboard is the same as if wood had been thrown overboard. Those were his words. I mean, those were the thoughts at the time. During this trip, 10 slaves threw themselves overboard as an act of protest. If they knew that they were going to die, it makes me think of the people I remember seeing jump out of the World Trade Center towers after those terrorist attacks in 2001. Did they jump because it was the lesser of two evils? Or did they do it because it was the ethical thing to do? For we forget that there's no disconnect when it comes to ethics, not only in business, but also in our personal lives. It's all over this continuum, because our ethics choices tie everything together. Some people wonder why we need to teach ethics in a business curriculum. Then again, others wonder why it wasn't taught before, after realizing how in business ethics can be thrown out the window, where people forget how desperately ethics needs to be woven everywhere into our lives. And a strong one, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That was my one poem sharing for you in my multiple single poem readings today on the first Wednesday of the month of March of 2002 in honor of the open mic at North Lamar Avenue in Austin, Texas at Half Price Books, hosted by Tom Woodruff, an Australian native Austin resident who hosted this every month. And I do this in honor of this time. So in the meantime, everybody stay safe, everyone stay poetically inclined, and I look forward to talking to each and every one of you very soon. Thank you very much.